Well, welcome in, everyone. I'm Jay Smith, and to my right, I've got Alex Pierce, Jackson right over there on the left. We've got Bradley Kendall right next to me. Got Evan McDowell in the back with Scout.
Looking snazzy.
And this is the holiday edition of After Further Review. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. We've got a lot of bowl games to get into. This is going to be our Bowl Mania episode. We're going to try and touch on every single one. So let's dive right into it. Bradley, After Further Review.
Let's go bowling, boys. We got 41 ahead of us, 41 different bowls. Some would say that's probably a little bit too much, but
little ambitious.
It gives
to
us
do
a lot of talk
41
about,
bowl
that's for
games
sure.
in 1 hour, but we're going to go ahead and get it kicked off. We've got Saturday, December 16th, Troy, North Texas in the New Orleans Bowl. Who y'all like in this matchup?
I'm going to go Troy just because looking back at last year, they've really built their program up. They've had a signature, I guess, game, you could say, each year. The Clemson game last year, and then they took down LSU this year, which is looking even better now. So I'll go Troy based on the fact that it's in New Orleans, it'll be close, and I like Troy this game.
What about you, Jackson?
I'm going Troy by a lot as well. If you look at Brandon Silvers, the senior quarterback over at Troy, he's won 11 games last year, 10 games this year. You can tell he's a winner. I think he'll probably go pretty high in the draft next year. I feel like he's kind of underrated. So I'm picking Troy.
You're an NFL draft expert, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
I'm going Mean Green. North Texas, I think, gets it done. Their only losses so far this year at SMU, at Iowa, and at FAU. They've won all their home games, and you could argue that the Iowa team, which beat up on Ohio State, is a pretty good opponent, as was SMU with Chad Morris and then Lane Kiffin at FAU. So that's why I'm going Mean Green in this matchup.
I'm going to go with Troy, and solely for the fact that they beat LSU this year. I don't really know a lot about either of these two teams from this year, but I do know that Troy gave Clemson a fit last year as well. Got them going up by a bunch.
Kick it back to Evan. Who are you picking in this matchup?
I'm going to take the popular pick here. I'll go with the Trojans. They did beat LSU in Death Valley on the homecoming for the Tigers. Pretty big win there. North Texas lost to the Owls of Florida Atlantic twice. Also lost to Iowa. Other than that, a solid little season for the Mean Green, but I will take Troy in this one as well.
All right, next bowl we've got up is the AutoNation Cure Bowl. We've got Western Kentucky sitting at 6-6, taking on 6-5 Georgia State. This one will be at 2:30, also on Saturday, December 16th. Jackson, who are you picking in this matchup?
I got Western Kentucky by a small margin. I feel like the main difference is that Georgia State can't score points. They only average below 20 points a game, so I don't think Georgia State's going to be able to score at all.
Okay. Bradley?
I was tempted to go with Western Kentucky just because of how great they've been over the last couple years, but I'm going to go with Georgia State here. Western Kentucky's lost 4 of their last 5 games. Not how you want to finish the season. You talked about them not scoring a lot. Western Kentucky gives up a ton of points, so I think Georgia State's going to be able to move the ball, and I got them winning the game.
I think the difference maker in this game is the quarterback, Mike White for Western Kentucky. He has just put up amazing numbers all year long. He's thrown for 3,800 yards, responsible for 24 passing touchdowns. So I think behind his arm, Western Kentucky's going to get it done.
I have no idea. I haven't even heard of these two teams before.
Gut feeling, right?
I'm just going to go with the popular vote and say Western Kentucky, and hope they get it done.
Who you got, Evan?
I'm going to take the Hilltoppers in this one. Finished at 500 this year after winning the Conference USA title in back-to-back years under now Purdue head coach Jeff Brom. I think they are more experienced in the postseason, having made 4 consecutive bowls, something they have not done at all in their brief history in the FBS before Willie Taggart took them to the Little Caesars Bowl in 2012. I think they're a little bit more prepared to play in the postseason. Georgia State finished a game over 500, good for them in the Sun Belt, but I just don't think it's their year, so I'll take the Hilltoppers.
All right, well, we'll now get into a bowl game with a top 25 team at Boise State. We've got the Las Vegas Bowl between the Broncos and the Oregon Ducks. Who are you picking in this matchup, Jackson?
I'm going Oregon by a very small margin. I think Oregon's going to play angry because after Willie Taggart left, Oregon, they seemed pretty mad about it because he kept telling them, like, hey, I'm not leaving, and then he left.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to play angry. I think they're going to play hard. I think they're going to end up getting the upset.
I'm going to go Oregon, too, here. I believe Oregon is favored in this game, surprisingly, because Boise State is the top 25
by over
team,
a touchdown.
Which is shocking. I'm going to go with Oregon solely because of the combo they got in the backfield. Justin Herbert has been a great quarterback. He's developed himself all year. And Royce Freeman, no one's talking about him. He's still around, still having a great season with 16 touchdowns this year. So I think that alone is going to be too much for the Broncos.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Oregon in this matchup. I mean, yes, they've lost to teams like Arizona State, but then you look at the flip side and who they're playing in Boise State. They've lost to Fresno State, and I believe, I'm trying to see who else they've
Washington
lost
State,
to.
they lost earlier
Washington
on in the year.
State, and then UVA by a significant margin. So for those reasons, I'm going with the Ducks.
I'm going to go with Boise State for this, even though they do have 2 pretty terrible losses. Western State Washington State.
Washington
Washington
State.
State. Washington
That's my
State.
fault. Washington State University isn't a terrible loss, and it was a very close margin. And I think it'll be a close game.
Kick it back to you, Evan.
I'm going to take the Broncos. Last time Oregon played a bowl game in Las Vegas, they lost by 30 to BYU. That was 11 years ago, and you've seen the direction both of those programs have gone since then. I think in their return, they are going to lose again. So I'm going to take Boise State, but like I think you guys said, it'll be a small margin either way.
All right, next up on the slate is the Gildan, New Mexico Bowl. We'll start over here on the right with Pierce. We've got the Colorado State Rams taking on the Marshall Thundering Herd. Who are you picking in this matchup?
Again, I have no idea who either of these two teams are. So I'm just going to.
But you've seen the movie We Are Marshall.
Oh, yes.
Everybody's seen the movie We Are Marshall.
And there were a lot of chances at a
Sorry.
game day saying we are Marshall, too.
I don't know anything about Colorado State. I know of Marshall,
Fair.
but I don't know anything about their season this year. So I'm just going to go with Marshall for just.
You got
Okay,
Mr. Coin
take
Flip.
the
Good
coin
reasons.
flip. The reason that I'm going with Colorado State, they are averaging over 500 yards of offense. That's the only thing I've really heard good that's come out of the state of Colorado when it comes to football this past year. So for those reasons, I'm going with the Rams.
I'm going to go with Colorado State as well. It's going to come down to the battle of the quarterbacks, and they've thrown a lot of picks. Both quarterbacks have double-digit interceptions this year. I'm talking about two teams ending on a pretty bad note. Marshall loses 4 out of 5. Colorado State loses 3 out of 5. Colorado State does score a lot more points, so for that reason, I'm going to go with Colorado State this game.
Who you got, Jackson?
I'm actually going to go with Marshall. I think
We
that's
are.
mainly because Marshall. I think that's mainly because Marshall has a way better defense than Colorado State. Colorado State's led almost 450 yards of offense every game. So for that reason, I'm just going to go with Marshall.
Throw it back to you, Evan.
I'll take the Thundering Herd as well. Both of these teams struggled down the stretch, with Marshall losing 3 of their last 5. Colorado State lost 3 of their last 4. The Rams have reached bowls in each of the last 4 seasons, but have lost 3 of them, including losing to Idaho in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Losing to Idaho in football is something that nobody does, except for apparently Colorado State. Marshall, on the other hand, played in 12 bowl games in the last 20 years, and they're 10-2 in those games, and they have lost once in their last 11 bowl games. I think they are better groomed and better prepared to participate in the postseason again, so I'll take the Thundering Herd.
Next up, we got the Raycom Media Camellia Bowl. This is a
Nice.
prime time matchup. We've got Middle Tennessee taking on Arkansas State. Pierce, who are you picking in this matchup?
I'm going to take Middle Tennessee, and that is because they have a loss very late in the season, but it was a very close game, and then they do have a very outstanding win as their last game of the season against Old Dominican Monarchs, and they just absolutely demolished them. So I'm going to take them. They should be hot coming into this game.
Nothing says good strength of schedule like beating up on Old Dominican.
Old Dominican
Old
Monarchs.
Dominion.
Sorry,
Old Dominion Monarchs.
Dominion
Okay.
Monarchs.
Yeah, for me, I'm going with the Red Wolves of Arkansas State because, again, they're averaging almost 500 yards a game, whereas Middle Tennessee is only getting 400. But the big key for me, Arkansas State putting up almost 40 points a game. They're 38.5, and Middle Tennessee is only averaging 24 points a game. I think offense gets this one done.
And you got to score to win the games. Their quarterback Hansen, 34 touchdowns this season. He does have 15 picks, but he can spread the ball around. I'm going to go with Arkansas State. They had a tough loss to end the season against Troy. Troy being a pretty good team, and they've played really good offense all year, so I'll go with Arkansas State.
What about you, Jackson?
I'm going to go with Arkansas State, too. Middle Tennessee beat Syracuse earlier in the year.
They
Remember
did.
that?
Great win.
It's been a long time since then, though. So Arkansas State led by Justice Hansen. It's a great offense. I feel like they get it done.
Okay. What about you, Evan?
I'll take the Red Wolves. Solid Sunbelt team there. Middle Tennessee under Rick Stockstill, who is a hot commodity on the coaching carousel this year. Still hadn't left yet, though. They have made a bowl game for the 4th time in 5 years under Coach Stockstill, but they hadn't won a bowl game since 2009. I don't think they're going to this year either. Arkansas State just too solid. I'll take the Red Wolves.
I think you may have thrown up a little bit in your mouth right there when you said solid Sun Belt team. I saw you you paused and you were like Sun Belt, but we'll forgive that. That's a good pick. We'll move right along though. We got Tuesday, December 19th. We have the Boca Raton Bowl between the Akron Zips and the Florida Atlantic Owls, led by Lane Kiffin. They got to 10 wins this year. Jackson, who you like in this matchup?
I like FAU by a lot. FAU is playing at home. They're 6-1. Their only loss has been to Navy, and that was the first game of the season. So obviously they're playing really good at home, and they average over 500 yards a game on offense. So I got FAU. I got the Owls.
It's a pretty popular pick to go with a lot of offense. That seems to be the trend we have going. I'll go with FAU, the Fighting Lane Kiffins. I think they're playing Akron. I don't think the Zips are going to score a zip at all. I'm going to go with FAU. Just the offense is really powerful.
I'm picking Florida Atlantic. I do think this is interesting here looking at these statistics. I see Jason Driscoll, FAU's quarterback, is only responsible for 13 throwing touchdowns, and I'm looking here and seeing that Devin Singletary has 29 rushing touchdowns. So I did not realize that FAU relied that much on the running game, but for those reasons and the fact that it's a home game for the Owls, I like them in this matchup.
I'm going to go also with the Florida Atlantic Owls. They've won out in their season, and I do think that this is going to be a very high-scoring game for both teams, as they both have let up 400 yards a game.
Yeah, defensively, they're not that strong.
Yeah, so I think this will be a very high-scoring game. It's going to be a shootout.
Okay. What about you, Evan?
This game taking place on Tuesday, December the 19th, which just so happens to double as my 21st birthday party. So 2 reasons to party that night. 1 for me, and 2 because we're all going to be riding the Lane train. Florida Atlantic currently a 22.5-point favorite in their home stadium. I think they are going to wipe the floor with Akron. So I guess the good news for the Zips is they get to spend a couple days down in Florida in December.
Yeah, it said Boca Raton.
Boca
Excuse me, I
Raton.
said Boca
Yeah,
Raton.
gotta
It's
get the accent right
Boca
on it, yeah.
Raton, my bad. We'll move right along, though. We're going into the Frisco Bowl between Louisiana Tech and SMU, Chad Morris's former team now.
Now former,
Now
yep.
former. Who y'all like in this? This is in Toyota Stadium in Texas. Who you like in this matchup, Jackson?
I got SMU in a shootout. Both offenses are really good, but I think SMU has the edge.
I'll go with Louisiana Tech. SMU now with Chad Morris leaving, they've given up a ton of points. They gave up 66 to Memphis just a couple weeks ago. So for that reason, I'll go with Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, this one's a tough pick for me. I want to go SMU because they're averaging 40 points a game, but I think with coming off losing their head coach and him going to Arkansas, I got to go with the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. I didn't even know they were the Bulldogs. They're only averaging 28 points a game, but they're only giving up 26, and SMU is giving up on average 35 points a game, not too impressed with their defense. So for those reasons, I'm going with Louisiana Tech.
I'm going to go with the SMU Mustangs. And they've had a rough end of the season. I mean, they lost barely to Navy. They were in a really close game with UCF at the end of the season. I do think that the defense is going to be the end result of this game. That's going to decide it. But even though they did give up 66 to Memphis, I'm still going to go with the Mustangs.
I'm going to take the Mustangs as well. Essentially a home game for SMU. This is a game taking place 29 miles away from their home field of Gerald J. Ford Stadium in this Dallas suburb. I think SMU fans are going to travel pretty well, and again, this is going to be a home game for them. Louisiana Tech had to win their last 2 games of the year to even become bowl eligible. A couple of tough losses this year, including just absolutely getting destroyed by Mississippi State, 57-21. I'll take the hometown favorite. Give me SMU.
All right, next bowl we got up on the slate. I'm not even sure how to pronounce this. This is the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl.
Best name by far.
This is in the Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. This matchup is between the Temple Owls and Florida International. Who you like in this matchup? I guess we'll go back over to Pierce.
Again, I've never heard of Florida International. Temple, I've heard of them, and they have ended their season pretty well. They lost to Army the last game of the season in overtime, and they have a significantly better defense, I feel, than the Florida International Golden Panthers. Let's go with Temple.
Yeah, I think I'm going to, even though Temple is 6-6 and Florida International is 8-4, I feel like it's a bit of a hollow 8-4. I'm looking at Temple's schedule. Yes, they've gotten blown out by a lot of mediocre teams, but they also have a pretty good win over Navy. They beat them 34-26 in weeks 9 or 10, I believe. So pretty impressive. They finished the season fairly strong, winning 3 of their last 4. So I'm going to go with the Owls in this game.
I'm going to go Florida International. Temple gets really exposed when they face a lot of passing offenses. You saw earlier this year when they played UCF and USF, 2 very good teams. I'm going to go Florida International. They had a great win against Western Kentucky a couple weeks ago. So for that reason, I'll go with the Panthers.
Okay.
I'm also going to go with the Panthers. I think the game is in Florida, so I give the edge because of that.
Simple enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Evan?
I'll take the Panthers as well. Temple lost their last 2 bowl games in a row in the Boca Raton and the Military Bowls, each for the last 2 years. This is Florida International's first year under head coach Butch Davis, and they are playing for a school record 9th win in this game. Formerly known as the Beef O'Brady's Bowl. They played in that in 2011. Now it's called the Gasparilla Bowl. I think the Panthers will take this as well, again, with just the home field advantage. This game being played in St. Pete.
Getting close to Christmas time now. We've got on December 22nd, the Bahamas Bowl. You're going to have UAB, who now has a football team again, taking on Ohio from, well,
Ohio.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's Ohio. I was thinking Miami from Ohio, but it's just regular Ohio. The Ohio
yeah.
Bobcats, I think,
The
is what they're
Bobcats,
called.
yes.
So we'll go back over to Jackson. Who you got in this game?
I got UAB winning. Ohio did not finish the season very well. They ended up losing to Buffalo and Akron by a good proportion. So I feel like I'm going to go with UAB on this.
I'm going to go with UAB too, just because they have a lot more to play with. They're going after their first bowl win in a couple years now since they've got their football team back now. So for that reason, I'll go UAB.
Yeah, I mean, UAB's won 4 of their last 5. Their only loss was at Florida, so you kind of expected that. Ohio's lost 2 of their last 5. But I don't know, looking honestly, Ohio is a pretty good offense. They're averaging almost 40 points a game. UAB's only getting just under 30. So I think that the Bobcats are actually going to get this win.
I think, of course, this one's going to be another shootout. No defense, really. And unfortunately for the Ohio Bobcats, they had 2 very close losses at the end of their season. I think they get it done on offense.
Throw back to Evan.
I'm going to take the Blazers, and win, lose, or draw, I think we have to give some props to Bill Clark doing a phenomenal job in Birmingham. 2 years without a football program, and now here they are at 8 wins and going undefeated at home. This is only their second bowl appearance ever. They lost in the 2004 Hawaii Bowl to the hometown Rainbow Warriors. That loss was 59-40, so a bit of a basketball-like score there. So UAB, when they do make it to a bowl game, has a knack for picking some good locations, first in Hawaii and now in the Bahamas 13 years later. So I like UAB. I like the Blazers. Also, Ohio, this is their 9th straight year making a bowl game, but they are 2-8 in bowl games. So for all those reasons, I will take the resurrected UAB Blazers.
All right, now we'll get to a bowl game that I look forward to every year, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl.
I'm sure you do.
This year's matchup is between Central Michigan and Wyoming. Jackson, what are your thoughts about this matchup?
I'm going Central Michigan in a close one. I think Josh Allen is pretty overrated. His season was not very good this year at all. And I feel like CMU is just going to expose him and just kind of throttle the Wyoming offense the entire game.
I'd be surprised if there's more than 100 Central Michigan fans that make the trip out to Idaho. I'm going to go with Wyoming. You said he's a little overrated. I think he's got a lot to play for, though. He's got to impress those NFL scouts. And one last final go-around at Wyoming, I think he gets the dub.
Yeah, he's got a lot to play for, but Central Michigan has really finished the season strong. They've won all of their 5 last games pretty convincingly, and what's really surprising to me is Wyoming is only averaging 22 points a game. So offensively, not enough for the Cowboys. I think in this kind of game, it's going to be Central Michigan with the offense getting it done.
I have to go with what Jay said. Central Michigan is coming off of a hot end of the season, and also I think they get it done on offense as well. They're just so much better than
Too much
Wyoming.
firepower, and Josh Allen just didn't pan out this year. What about you, Evan?
I'm going to take the Chippewas as well. Josh Allen, that stereotypical prototype for an NFL quarterback. No word yet on if he's ditching after this year or not. Most people expect him to and be a high draft pick. But again, there's just not enough around him for the Cowboys, unfortunately. Chippewas, an 8-win team here. They're used to playing in the postseason at this point. I like them on the road, basically, in this matchup.
Next game we've got is the Birmingham Bowl. This one is between the Texas Tech Red Raiders at 6-6, and then South Florida 9-2. Charlie Strong's new coaching gig. Pierce, what are your thoughts about this one? Who do you like in this matchup?
Well, the matchup predictor says that it's basically 50-50.
Yeah, surprisingly.
That's very surprising.
Very surprising. No
For a
love for
6-6
South Florida.
to a 9-2 team. Honestly, I guess I'm just going to have to go with South Florida. They are averaging 500 yards a game. That is incredible.
But you've got Texas Tech that's averaging 470.
470.
So both offensively look great this year.
All of their stats are very similar. I guess the only one that stands out is their defensive yards allowed. Texas Tech just isn't getting it done. South Florida's going to take it with defense.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Looking at the matchup predictor on ESPN, you've got Texas Tech at 51.5, so slightly favored over the Bulls. But I think Charlie Strong, I like what he's done there. And I think he'll continue to improve. I think he's going to give him another bowl win.
FPI loves Power 5 teams. That's basically how they make their formulas. But I'm going to go with South Florida, just the better team here. Quentin Flowers, an incredible year. May have been a letdown season, amazingly, because he got some Heisman talk early on in the season. But it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a lot like their game against UCF that they had a couple weeks ago. And I'm going to take the South Florida Bulls.
I'm right there with you. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think both teams are going to end up over 50 points. But I think the main difference in this is Charlie Strong and his defense. I think Charlie Strong's defense ends up getting it done.
I'll take the Red Raiders here. Kind of an unpopular pick. I mean, they are 6-6, and the Bulls sitting at 8-4, I believe.
9-2.
9-2, even better. Quentin Flowers, phenomenal player, 21 touchdowns through the air, 10 on the ground. I'm a Cliff Kingsbury guy. I like Texas Tech, so I'm not really basing this on anything other than they are that Power 5 team, USF not, so maybe they haven't played anybody quite of this caliber. Central Florida, probably the best team USF has seen all year, and I think UCF is probably considerably better than Texas Tech. But I'm still going to take the Red Raiders here in what I guess would be called an upset.
All right, we're 20 minutes into the show, still going strong. Got a lot of bowl games left to look at. Let's go in now to the Armed Forces Bowl. This one appropriately is hosting Army at 8-3, and then they're also going up against San Diego State at 10-2. Jackson, what are your thoughts on this game? Who do you like in this matchup?
I like San Diego State. I think that's mainly because Army, the only thing they ever do is run the ball, but San Diego State runs the ball pretty well too. So I think their defense will be prepared for the run. I feel like they have a lot of experience, defending the run just in their regular practice. So I feel like San Diego State wins this game.
There may be a combined 15 passes in this game. Army's quarterback only has 1 touchdown in the entire season, so they do run the ball a lot. Rashard Penny, I got to go with him in this game. Side with San Diego State, one of the most underrated players in the country, and he's had another incredible season, so I will side with the Aztecs here.
Yeah, I'm tempted, and I think I am going to pick the Black Knights of Army because, like you said, there might be only 15 passes thrown in this game, and if it is a run-heavy game, you've got Army they are averaging 370 yards rushing a game.
Not bad.
I know you've got San Diego State averaging 250, which blows my mind. I mean, that's crazy. But I still like Army in this matchup because I think if they're able to control the clock, control field possession, with their ability to run the ball, that'll help them. And they played great in their last 5 games. They had a close scare with a win against Temple in overtime, but their only loss was at the Mean Green of North Texas, and that was a 52-49 loss. So, and then you've got San Diego State, whose most recent game was a shellacking by Fresno State. They beat them 27-3. So I'm going to go with the Army.
I'm also going to go with Army. They seem to be very equal teams. I do think that Army is going to just run the ball and just continue to just pound away, and that does rough things to defenses. And also San Diego is coming off of a pretty embarrassing loss in their last game of the season, so going with the Army Knights.
I'm going to take the Aztecs, the 10-win team, out of the Mountain West Conference. I think Army, they got to match up with Navy this coming weekend, so that's an extra game that they got to play leading up to bowl season. San Diego State, one of the more solid group of 5 teams in the country. Really good offense, like you said, Bradley. Rashad Penny doing a really good job stepping in and filling the shoes of Donnell Pumphrey over the last couple of years. The NCAA's all-time leading rusher in terms of yardage. San Diego State beat Stanford this year. I think that they are a pretty good team and probably more well-rounded than Army. The Black Knights actually beat Air Force in Week 10 and threw 0 passes, which is the first time, not the first time, it's just something that Army does. So anyway, I'm going to take San Diego State.
All right, we got 27 bowl games left. Let's keep
going.
Rolling right along. We got the Dollar General Bowl between App State at 8-4 and Toledo, a surprising 11-2 year for them. Jackson, you going with what are they? Toledo.
The Rockets.
The Rockets. Are you going with the Rockets in this matchup?
No. App State all the way.
App State all the way. And any reason? Just loving App State?
They have a great defense and balanced offense. Something Toledo does not have.
Toledo's got a fantastic offense. They've been throwing the ball around, 66 points just a couple of weeks ago, and they just came off of their conference championship game, I believe against Akron, the Zips. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Toledo against that good App State defense. I didn't think get it done.
Yeah, looking at these two teams, you've got 2 quarterbacks, amazingly, both number 11. One is thrown for 27 touchdowns for App State. One is thrown for 28 touchdowns for Toledo. You've got 6 interceptions for the App State quarterback, 5 interceptions for Toledo. Running backs essentially the same, but I think at the end of the day, this one's going to come down to defense. And because App State is allowing fewer points a game, that's the reason I'm going to lean towards the Mountaineers.
I'm going to go with the Toledo Rockets, and solely because this is going to be a complete shootout more than any
Lots
other.
of shootouts.
Lots of shootouts
Yeah.
for you in Bowl
Lots of
Mania.
shootouts.
I like offense, but
This one
Championships,
especially
that's
though,
what I'm playing.
with Toledo going with over 500 yards of offense per game, you can't stop them. So
especially in a bowl game. I think once you're in a bowl game, your defense kind of, I don't want to say they play to a lesser standard, but you know how usually you have a lot of high-scoring bowl games. Evan, what are your thoughts on this game?
I think this is a nifty little bowl game rematch here. These two teams met in the Camellia Bowl last year, in which App State beat them by 31-28. These two teams are a little bit different than they were last year. Toledo a little bit better, App State probably a little bit worse at 8-4, but only one conference loss there in the Sun Belt. I'm going to take the Rockets as well. I think their offense is just going to be too much to handle. Logan Woodside, really solid quarterback that you just don't hear much about because Toledo just does not have that many fans, even though they have been a pretty consistent team as far as the MAC is concerned, I should say, since about 2010 or so. So I'll take the Rockets in this one, hopefully thrust them into a little bit of a spotlight there.
All right, well, happy Christmas Eve and aloha from Hawaii. We're going down to the Hawaii Bowl between Fresno State and Houston. Jackson, who are you picking in this matchup?
I think Fresno State's had a really good year this year, but I feel like they're not going to be able to compete with Houston's talent. Like, Houston has way better talent. They have Ed Oliver right in the middle, so I don't feel like they're going to be able to get much running the ball, but that's why I got Houston this one.
Houston lost Greg Ward last year. I don't think they're going to need him. They've been stout all year. This is probably one of the most underrated bowl matchups we see right now. Very even.
Essentially a toss-up right now.
Very even teams. I think Houston's a little more battle-tested. They had the Memphis game, and they took down South Florida earlier this year. So I think they're a little bit more prepared to take on an opponent like this, so I'll go with Houston.
See, for me, the Houston quarterback raises too many questions. He's only thrown for 5 touchdowns all year. Yes, he has 1,100 yards. He only has 5 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. When you're throwing more interceptions than you are touchdowns, there's a problem. So, I mean, I think that this will be a competitive game. Like you said, I think it is almost a toss-up, and it should be a great bowl game. I think at the end of the day, Bulldogs get it done. I'm going with Fresno State.
I think that it is, again, going to be a toss-up, just like everybody else has said.
Another shootout?
No, not another shootout. I think this one is going to be defensive. I think Fresno State, averaging only 319 yards a game for giving up that many a game, I think they get it done on defense against the Houston Cougars.
What about you, Evan?
I'm going to give a shout-out to the Bulldogs. Win, lose, or draw, they have been a solid team this year and rallying through some tough losses, having to play Alabama and Washington in back-to-back weeks in the regular season. I don't think anybody would want to do that. However, Houston, solid team. They beat Arizona and won on the road at South Florida this year, and they did have a tough loss to Texas Tech and Memphis. The good news for Fresno State is they are second in the Mountain West Conference and 5th in the nation in sacks allowed, with 9 and 1st and 3rd in tackles for anyway. So they have a really good offensive line. Problem is Ed Oliver is going to be lining up against them, the 290-pound sophomore defensive player of the year for the American Athletic Conference. I think he's going to be too much to handle, and I think Houston will be too much to handle, so I'm going to take the Cougs.
All right, well, Christmas is now over. We're moving on to December 26th. We've got the Quick Lane Bowl between Duke and Northern Illinois. This one, Ford Field in Detroit. Pierce, who do you like in this matchup?
I'm just going to go with Duke on this one.
Attaboy.
Just because I want to just make Bradley happy. That's the only reason. Just want to make Bradley happy.
What a guy.
You know, it's really surprising. Duke is heavily favored in this matchup. I don't know, Evan, you may have a second to pull it up, but when's the last time Duke has been favored in a bowl game? It may have been recently because I know they've been pretty good and gotten in some good bowl games recently, but I don't know when the last time Duke has been favored that heavily in a bowl game. But yeah, for me, I'm going to go Blue Devils. I've been able to watch a couple of their games this year, been really impressed. Not too sure about Northern Illinois' 8-4 record, seems a little hollow, but I think it'll be a competitive game. I think it'll be a good game.
Make that 3 straight. I would not be able to pick against Duke in this game. Got to go with the Blue Devils. They've won 4 straight to begin the year and then dropped 6 in a row and then closed out the season with 2 straight wins to get bowl eligible. So they're riding high right now. I like Daniel Jones, quarterback, and Sean Wilson, really developed running back. I'm going to go with the Dukies in this game.
I love how you don't show your bias when you pick teams. That's superb.
I'm going with Northern Illinois because Duke sucks.
Yep. Talk about no bias.
What you say, Evan?
No bias.
I did not have time to find the last time Duke was favored in a bowl game, but that's got to be impressive. I mean, there for a while they couldn't make it to a bowl game to save their life. David Cutcliffe done a phenomenal job in Durham there. I'm going to take him in this matchup as well, even though this game being played up north. Northern Illinois, in theory, should be the home team. Had a rough go at it down the stretch, losing 2 of their last 4. They hadn't won a bowl game in 6 years, and I don't think they're going to do it this year. So I'm just going to take Duke because I think they're a more solid team all around.
All right, next up on the slate, we've got the Zaxby's Heart of Dallas Bowl between Utah and West Virginia. We'll go back over to Jackson now. Who do you like in this matchup and why?
I think Utah because West Virginia is without Will Grier, and without Will Grier, I don't feel like West Virginia is be able to score much points at all because Will Grier is their entire offense, really. So I think Utah wins in this one.
Yeah, the defense has been pretty suspect all year. They've kind of relied on Will Grier to keep them in games, and since he's dropped down, they've lost 2 straight. Utah, a really hot start of the season, kind of tapered off since, but I think they find a way to bring some of that magic back. I'll take the Utes.
Both of these teams have had pretty rough ends to the season. They've lost 3 of their last 5. You mentioned Will Greer no longer being on the Mountaineers starting lineup, but they're still able to average over 300 yards passing a game, and Utah is sitting there at 250. These teams are essentially identical in yards rushing per game at 160. So I think, honestly, West Virginia has the edge because of that offense passing attack, so I'm going to go with the Mountaineers.
Again, it's going to be another shootout. Let it be known.
Watch it be like a 6-3 game if you say that.
Utah, I think they get it done because of their defense. Of course, we have West Virginia over here with almost over 450 yards per game allowed.
Yep.
That's just typical Big 12. So Utah gets it done.
What are your thoughts on this matchup, Evan?
I think this battle of backup quarterbacks will be fun to watch. Tyler Huntley questionable for the Utes, and like I said, Will Greer doubtful with that finger injury. Like this article is saying, both of these teams have been kind of hit or miss over the last couple months, a little bit up and down for both of them. Utah, the more solid team all the way around, though, better defensively, and without Will Greer, this just makes it easier to stop that West Virginia offense. So I'm going to take Utah in this one. Kyle Whittingham is an incredible coach when you give him time to prepare, and that's why Utah has won 10 of their last 11 bowl games that they've made under Coach Whittingham. So you don't want to give him a month to prepare for you, and he's going to make you regret it if you do. So I'm going to take Utah.
All right, we're halfway through the show, 30 minutes in, and we've got 23 bowl games to touch on. So let's get cracking. We've got a lot to cover. The Cactus Bowl, Kansas State, UCLA, 9 Eastern on ESPN. Who you like in this matchup, Jackson?
I'm picking Kansas State. I think Josh Rosen ends up sitting in this game, just in previous draft stock. Because, Coach Moore ended up getting fired, so he doesn't really have his coach there anymore. He doesn't really have that much reason, I would say, to be still playing for UCLA, so I feel like he ends up sitting. I think Kansas State wins.
Yeah, he sat the second half of their last game of the season. I'm going to go with Kansas State, the more battle-tested team this year. Bill Snyder, I think he gets another bowl game win. They played really hard against Oklahoma earlier in the season, and like you said, with Rosen being out, I don't think UCLA stands much of a chance.
Yeah, I don't think UCLA is really that into the season anymore with just everything that's gone on there this year. And like you said, Bill Snyder, he's been around forever. He's practically a fossil. I'm going with the Wildcats.
I'm also going to go with Wildcats. Also, UCLA is coming off of a 2-loss end of their season, and Kansas is coming in with a 2-win end of their season.
Not so fast, my friends. Give me the Bruins. So far through 2 bowl practices, Josh Rosen has been a full participant in both. He has expressed interest in playing this game, regardless of the fact that a lot of higher draft picks typically do not, especially in a bowl game that, for all intents and purposes, doesn't really matter. I'm going to take UCLA. I think they're going to rally behind their interim coach here before Chip Kelly steps in and takes the reins as soon as this game is over. But Jed Fish, so far, I think he can rally the troops. I'm going to take UCLA in this one just because, like you said, Bill Snyder's getting a little bit old, and the longer season with the bowl game might wear on his body and his mind a little bit. So I'll take the Bruins.
He'll still be out there in a wheelchair. That's all I got to say.
He'll do whatever it takes.
Next matchup we've got the walk-on Independence Bowl between Southern Mississippi and the Florida State Seminoles. Do you think Florida State gets to 7-6 this year?
Easily. I feel like Florida State has way more talent than Southern Miss. I feel like they just swipe it.
Southern Miss has 8 wins, though, on the year.
Doesn't matter.
All right.
Talent.
What say you, Bradley?
I'm really tempted to go with Southern Miss here. I think you might even see some walk-ons for Florida State just because they've been struggling with their starters all year. But I think the pure talent is just going to take over. I'll take Florida State in this game.
I'm going to pick the Seminoles because everybody in their right mind is going to pick the Seminoles. But what I think is important to note is right now Southern Mississippi averaging more points a game than Florida State. They're averaging 30. Florida State only averaging 26. It might be a bit of a low-scoring affair. It might be an ugly bowl game. I have a feeling it's going to be a really ugly bowl game. But I'm still going with the Seminoles.
I'm going to go with the Seminoles as well, of course. I do think it's going to be an ugly bowl game. I mean,
not a shootout.
No, not a shootout. It's going to be a very ugly bowl game. They just lost their head coach coming into the to their bowl game without him. And I mean, this is the first year that I think I've been alive where Florida State had to just struggle to get into a bowl game.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
No, it's been 35
extended
years.
the streak.
I think
36 years in a row.
36.
Crazy.
Yeah. What say you, Evan, about this game? You picking Seminoles?
I say that if you had told me at the beginning of the year that we would be looking at Florida State at 500 playing Southern Miss in a bowl game, I would have told you to put down a crack pipe. But here we are, the Golden Eagles with a 2-win better record than Florida State. I'm very tempted to pick Southern Miss, but I think if you're smart, you take Florida State. Jimbo Fisher not coaching in this game. game, and Florida State, like you guys said, struggled to get to this 500 mark and just get bowl eligible, having to beat Louisiana Monroe last Saturday. So I think they're going to be mad. I think they're going to be passionate. I think they are going to go down swinging, and I don't think they're going to want to end this year being 6-7 with a bowl loss to the Golden Eagles. So I'm going to take Florida State in an ugly blowout. How about that?
All right, we'll pick it up the pace a little bit. We'll go into the New Era Pinstripe Bowl. We've got Iowa, Boston College. What do you think about this matchup? This is a weird start time at 5:15.
Yeah,
it is. Boston College, I'm looking at their stats, and when we think of Boston College, I usually think of a defensive team.
Yep.
The stats don't show that for this. So I'm going to take the Iowa Hawkeyes. I love what they did to beautiful Ohio State this year.
Your precious Buckeyes.
I don't like them. I don't know what you're talking about.
Go Hawkeyes.
Yeah, I think Iowa's just played a better schedule, they just played better all year long. Yes, they've had losses, close losses to Penn State and Michigan State. They've also lost to Northwestern, Wisconsin, but I still think at the end of the day they're the more talented team, so I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes in this match.
Could end up seeing a baseball score here in Yankee Stadium, but like you said, I think Boston College has really flipped the script on how to play, playing a lot more offense, and they run the ball a lot better. And Iowa with an ugly loss to end the year. I'm going to go Boston College.
I'm going to go Iowa because I think Boston College is mainly one-dimensional. They have A.J. Dillon pretty much being their entire offense the entire year, the phenomenal freshman. But, Iowa has a more balanced team, a better defense. I got to go with Iowa.
What say you, Evan?
I say that if Boston College is going to win this game, it's going to have to be on A.J. Dillon, like you just said, Jackson. In the last 6 games, a 240-pounder racked up over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns just in those last half dozen weeks. However, Iowa, playing in the gritty Big Ten, is used to having to deal with some troublesome running backs, having played Saquon Barkley, J.K. Dobbins out of Ohio State, and Wisconsin's Jonathan Taylor this year. You saw A.J. Dillon wreak a little bit of havoc against Clemson this year. I just think Iowa's going to be too well prepared, and Kirk Ferentz is going to want to win this game just too much. He's 1 win shy of tying the all-time wins record at Iowa. So I'm going to take the Hawkeyes in this one as well, make the clean sweep.
Next bowl game we got up is the Foster Farms Bowl. That's between Arizona and Purdue. This one kicks off at 8:30 Eastern on Fox out of Levi Stadium. Who are you picking in this matchup, Jackson?
I got Arizona, mainly because of Khalil Tate. I think he's probably one of the better players in the entire college football right now. I feel like if he had played a little bit earlier and played a little bit better early on, I feel like he could have been up for the Heisman talk, but he came out a little too late. So I'm going to go with Arizona.
Shows how much you listen to me, Evan. I did pick Boston College. You did say clean sweep. Give some love to the Eagles there.
I'm going to go maybe you should have picked Iowa.
I'll go Arizona. Khalil Tate, one of the most dynamic players in the country. Purdue kind of rose back up after they fell back earlier this year, but I'm going to go with Arizona. Just too much offense here.
I mean, Purdue won 3 of their last 5, so I guess they kind of finished the season strong. I don't know. They're only averaging 24 points a game. Arizona's averaging over 40 points a game. Jackson's already touched on some of the offensive firepower for Arizona. So for those reasons, I'm going with the Wildcats.
I'm also going to go with the Wildcats. They won their last game of the season against Washington State, and it was a pretty commanding victory, and so that's why.
I'm going to take the Wildcats as well. If Khalil Tate is playing in this game and he is healthy, I just don't see the Boilermakers limiting him enough to make a difference down the stretch. Just played really, really well, and there for a while emerged as a Heisman contender. Under Rich Rodriguez, this Arizona program has been a little bit up and down. They're going to have to get their act together with Herm Edwards stepping in at Arizona State. But I like Arizona in this matchup. I just think they're going to be too much on both sides of the ball for the Boilermakers.
All right, next bowl game we got to touch on is the Academy Sports and Outdoors Texas Bowl between Texas and Missouri. Pierce, who do you like in this matchup?
Well, Missouri is coming off of their regular season really hot. They beat UConn, I'm pretty sure, 52-12 to end the season. It's a pretty good little win.
If they don't beat them 52-12, I'd be disappointed.
52-12, but still, it's still a good game.
Yeah, good game to end the year.
And then the only thing that the Texas Longhorns have against them is their TCU loss. 24-7. So I'm going to go with Missouri just because they're hot.
Texas just looked mediocre this year under Tom Herman. And, when you look at Missouri's quarterback with Drew Lock, he's responsible for 43 passing touchdowns. The guy has thrown for almost 3,700 yards. I like Missouri. I think they're going to kill Texas in this bowl game.
I believe he set the record for most touchdown passes by an SEC quarterback,
Something
like that. But this is a nice little rematch from a couple years ago when they were both in the Big 12. I'm going to go with Missouri just because they are able to attack a team that really relies on defense in Texas. They did against Florida earlier this year, so I'm going to go with Missouri.
I think Missouri wins as well. I think they can score and Texas doesn't, so I think that's pretty much the difference.
Yeah.
I want to pick Texas in an upset here, but I just don't see it happening. Tom Herman basically struggling a little bit in his first year as part of Longhorn Nation, although he's pulling in a hell of a recruiting class. So look for the Longhorns to make a little bit of noise this time next year. Missouri down the stretch, probably the second best team in the SEC East after Georgia. Started the year 1-5 and then won their last 6 games to make it to 7-5 in a game over 500. So I think they're going to score a bunch of points in this one. I don't think Texas will be able to keep up. So I'll take the Tigers as well.
Next bowl game we've got on the slate, the Military Bowl, and this is between Navy. Do they automatically get bids to these bowl games?
I think they get
what's the deal?
preference
You've
at
got
least,
you
yeah.
got Army and Navy and 2 military appreciation bowls.
Well, Army accepted its bowl bid in early October, the first team to
Did they?
accept a bid to a bowl game. So they
Wow.
kind of not really have dibs, but whenever they become bowl eligible, they say, yeah, we'll go to that one. So.
Interesting. Well, you've got Navy taking on Virginia in this matchup. This is going to be out of the Navy Marine Memorial Stadium in Annapolis, Maryland. So cool stadium, cool environment there. Who do you like in this matchup, Jackson?
I think Virginia wins. If you look at Virginia's last 5 games, their only win is against Georgia Tech, who also runs the option, same as Navy. So I think Virginia, the only team they could play in the last 5 weeks is an option running team. So I think they beat Navy.
I'll go with UVA as well. The preparation time is going to come into play here. They have a couple weeks to get ready for that Navy option, and they played it well earlier, like you said, against Georgia Tech. So I'm going to go with the Cougs.
I think that's the only point you really need to look at for this matchup, because you've got a Virginia team that their only win in the last 5 games is against a team who's running the triple option, and then you've got the Navy midshipmen who lost 4 of their last 5. Their only win was a 3-point win at home with SMU. So they have not closed the season well at all. So I think Virginia, because they figured out the triple option, I like their chances in this matchup.
I'm going to go with the Navy. Yes, Virginia did beat Georgia Tech, but it was a very close game. Navy beat SMU, very close game as well. I feel like SMU is similar to Virginia, so I'm just going to go with Navy on this upset.
Giddy up, it's Bronco ball. Bronco Mendenhall, the second-year coach up in Charlottesville, getting them bowl eligible for the first time since 2011, so making some pretty good progress there. Navy, in theory, pretty easy team to prepare for. You know they're going to run the ball and throw it at maximum maybe 7 times. It all comes down to actually stopping that run. I think with the amount of time to prepare, I think Virginia's going to take this one, so I'll take the Who's.
We have flipped the switch, and now we're getting into some good bowl games. We got the Camping World Bowl, number 22
How dare you
Virginia
insult the bowl
Tech.
games we've already talked about? They're all good.
Number 22
Crap.
Virginia Tech
Crap.
taking on number 19 Oklahoma State out of Orlando, Florida. Who are you liking in this matchup, Jackson?
I'm going to end up going with Oklahoma State. I think Bud Foster, I feel like his defense was kind of a little overrated this year. They left a lot to Clemson. They kind of.
They are only giving up 13 points a game.
But if you looked at the good teams they played this year, they aren't doing so well. So I feel like Oklahoma State ends up winning this game pretty big. I don't feel like Virginia Tech's offense can compete with Oklahoma State's. I feel like Oklahoma State runs away.
They have struggled when they've played really good teams. They kind of rely on beating up on some of those bad opponents and holding them to literally no points at all. But I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. Just too much offense from Mason Rudolph. I've liked them all year, and they get the job done.
I think usually when it comes to bowl games, it's safe to pick the team with more offensive firepower. So I'm not picking for the reason that Virginia Tech's defense hasn't performed up to snuff this year. I just think, like you said a minute ago, Oklahoma State's offense will be too much. They're averaging almost 50 points a game. Even if they give up a bunch of points to Virginia Tech, I just don't see it being enough for the Hokies. So I like the Cowboys in this matchup.
I'm going to go with the Virginia Tech Hokies just because I want to see some good defense from them. They, like Jay said, only 13 points a game, around that, and good ACC victory if we can get it.
Yes, Virginia Tech's defense is good, but Oklahoma State's offense pretty tough to contain. Mason Rudolph, the gunslinger, and you got James Washington catching passes out on the outside. Right now, Oklahoma State a 5.5-point favorite with a 71% chance to win, according to OddsShark. I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one. Both of these teams sitting at 9-3 and probably a little bit disappointed. Both of them thought they might have a pretty good chance of winning their respective conference championships. So, essentially a little, I guess, pity game for both of them because Oklahoma State with some playoff hopes going into the year. Virginia Tech thinking Clemson would be rebuilding, thought maybe they had a shot to win the ACC. So, it'll just come down to who wants it more, but I think Oklahoma State will take this one by about 10 points.
Next bowl game we got on the slate, we got number 13 Stanford taking on number 15 TCU in the Alamo Bowl. Should be a great matchup. Who you like in this one, Pierce?
Definitely TCU. I cannot believe that they have only allowed 17 points a game in the Big 12. That is, I think
that is pretty
I
remarkable.
can't believe they're only averaging 33 points a game. I thought it would have been a little bit higher for a Big 12 team. But
I still think that their defense gets it done against Stanford
Yeah.
at this point. So
Yeah, I like the Horned Frogs. They're 10-3 on the year, and I've been able to watch a couple of their games. Impressed with how they've played. I haven't been able to watch Stanford as much because they're out on the West Coast, but I still feel comfortable picking the Horned Frogs in this matchup.
I'm going to go with TCU as well. I really was tempted to pick Stanford, but TCU really gets exposed when they play a lot of passing offenses, and Stanford really relies on the run. If Bryce Love can get healthy, I could see Stanford winning this game, but the fact that it's in Texas, I'm going to go with TCU.
I think TCU wins because I think TCU stacks the box and stops Bryce Love. They're only letting up about 100 yards a game, and I don't think KJ Costello ends up beating TCU with his arm at all. So
I'm going to take TCU in this one. Their recent history of playing football games in Texas does not bode very well for them after getting shellacked for the second time this year against Oklahoma. But Stanford is not Oklahoma. Bryce Love is not healthy, and KJ Costello is not even close to Baker Mayfield. So I think if that TCU defense shows up like they have every other game except against Oklahoma, the Horned Frogs have a pretty good chance in this one. But if Bryce Love can get healthy and KJ Costello plays lights out, watch out for Stanford. I'll take TCU for now, though.
All right, we got 15 bowl games still to go.
We got one per minute.
One per minute. Here we go. The San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl, number 18 Washington State, number 16 Michigan State on FS1. Who you picking, Jackson?
I'm going with Michigan State. I think they've seen a lot of similar offenses to Washington State with like kind of Ohio State, and then if you look at Indiana as well, they're kind of both kind of similar to what Washington State kind of runs, like an air raid offense. Obviously, they're not as good as what Mike Leach will put on the field, but I feel like Michigan State ends up winning it.
Depends on what kind of team we get for Washington State, either really bad or really good. I think we end up getting the really good. Mike Leach is going to get his boys ready to go, and Michigan State kind of struggled towards the end of the year, so I'm going to go with the Cougars.
I'm picking the Cougars just based on the fact that I want to hear a post-game press conference from Mike Leach after he's won a bowl game. I'm going Cougars.
I'm just going with the Cougars just because I don't think Michigan State gets it done in this game.
I love Washington State. You boys know that. Mike Leach and Luke Falk are my guys, so I'm going to pick the Cougars, but I would not be the least bit surprised if Mark Antonio and Michigan State pull a fast one here, but I'll take Washington State just because of my own pride.
Belk Bowl, best Twitter account right now. 4
without a
bowl
doubt.
games. You've got Wake Forest from the ACC, Texas A&M from the SEC, Bank of America Stadium. Jackson, who you like?
I like Wake Forest in this one. I think John Wofford's had a great year. A lot of people at Wake Forest are kind of pulling for him to win the Heisman. One of our good friends, Kyle Tash, has been tweeting about him all the time, like John Wofford for Heisman. But he's played really good this year. I feel like Wake Forest wins it.
I would love to see Wake get to 8 wins for Clausen. I'd love to see John Wolford been a great quarterback all year. I think they get the job done with Kevin Sumlin on the way out for A&M. If Jimbo Fisher was able to coach this game, maybe. I'm going to go with Wake, though.
Really impressed with Wake Forest all year. They're averaging 33 points a game, also getting 450 yards a game on offense. Defensively, I have a lot of questions. They're giving up on average 444 yards, so I'm not too confident on the defensive side of the ball, but I'd like to see the Demon Deacons get a bowl win, get to that 8 victory mark, so I'm going to go with Wake.
I think I'm also going to go with Wake. It's going to be a very close game. I think it will come down to a field goal, actually. Both of their defenses are not playing very well, and their offenses are very similar, but still I think Wake brings it out in the end.
I'm going to take Wake Forest here as well. Essentially a home game for the Demon Deacons being played in Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. If Jimbo Fisher had taken that A&M job about a month and a half ago, I'd like Texas A&M's chances in this one a lot more. He won't be on the sidelines, and I don't think he's going to be in the win column either. I like Wake Forest, and I like Dave Clawson, so I'll take the Demon Deacons.
Got the Hyundai Sun Bowl between number 24 NC State and Arizona State. This one's on CBS. Pierce, who do you like in this afternoon 3 o'clock matchup?
The Wolfpack, solely because they give Clemson fits every single year.
Yep.
And defensively, I also think that they will get it done with good old Chubb on their line. I don't think he can
Herm
stop.
Edwards is coaching this game.
I couldn't tell you, to be
I'm
honest.
not exactly.
Evan,
if you have a chance, if you could look that up, I'm curious. I like NC State doing this matchup. Ryan Finley for the quarterback for NC State. 3,200 yards right on the dot passing, 16 touchdowns. He's been great all year. Clemson struggled against him. I think NC State is, if they get to 9 wins, definitely a great year for them. So I like the Wolfpack.
Great win. If they can get the 9 wins, that's trajectory going up. I like Ryan Finley. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I believe Arizona State last time they were in the Sun Bowl took an L to the Dukies, so I'm going to go with NC State in this game.
I'm going to go with NC State as well. I think NC State has a lot of talent. If you look at Jalen Edwards and you look at all the weapons that they have on offense and defense alike, I feel like NC State pretty much walks away with this one.
Cannot find whether or not Herm Edwards is going to be coaching this game, but considering he's still working at ESPN right now, he's going to finish out the week on air. I'm going to go with probably not, so I'm going to take NC State right now, opened as about a touchdown favorite. I think if that defense shows up like it did against Clemson for the first 2.5 quarters and Ryan Finley plays as well as he's capable of, I think NC State wins this one pretty easily.
Next up, we've got Kentucky taking on number 21 Northwestern in the Music City Bowl in Nashville, Tennessee. Jackson, who do you like in this matchup?
I'm picking Northwestern. I feel like they're the better team overall, and they have a far better defense. And if you also look at it, Northwestern finished 5-0, whereas Kentucky only finished 2-3. There are only 2 wins if you look at it. It's Tennessee and Vandy.
Yeah.
So not 2 very good ones there, and they also got blown up by Georgia.
And it was a close win to Tennessee, too.
Yeah,
really close win.
And they got lit up by Lamar Jackson towards the end of the year, too. So I'm going to go with Northwestern. If Pat Fitzgerald can get to 10 wins, that's incredible, especially to beat a school like Northwestern. I think they get the job done. 2 very interesting teams here, but I think Northwestern gets the job done.
Yeah, I'm picking Northwestern in this matchup. I am looking at the most recent 5 games that they played. They're 5-0 in those matchups. They had 2 games in a row going to 1 triple overtime, a win against Michigan State, and then an overtime win against Nebraska. But the last 2 games they've played have been absolutely dominant, beating Illinois on the road 42-7. Lovie Smith from
yes.
the NFL is their coach now, and then Minnesota a 39-0 beatdown. So I'm going Wildcats.
I'm also going to go with the Wildcats, and I think it's very interesting that the Wildcats are just not favored in this game at all, but the spread is only by a touchdown. I think that Benny Snell gets it done with the Wildcats.
Going Northwestern?
The Wildcats will win
Kentucky.
regardless.
Kentucky.
The Wildcats will be winning regardless of which team scores more points here. I'm going to take Northwestern as well. I love Justin Jackson, their running back. I thought he was going to be one of the better running backs in the Big Ten this year, and then he ended up doing just that. Northwestern, a couple of really good games and a couple of not so good games. Kentucky there for a while, hung around in second place in the SEC East. Couldn't quite get the job done and close it out, so I like Northwestern, the Purple Wildcats in this one.
Next up, we got the Arizona Bowl. This one's between New Mexico State at 6-6 and Utah State at 6-6. The battle of mediocrity. Who do you like in this matchup out of Tucson?
I like New Mexico State. I feel like Utah State can't throw the ball. If you look at their quarterback, he has 8 touchdowns, 6 picks, and 1,500 yards. No offense to the.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
First bowl game for New Mexico State in 57 years, I believe. So that's a lot to play for. Solely, they're both 6-6. I'm going to go with New Mexico State here.
Yeah, New Mexico State, I mean, their quarterback has 26 touchdowns passing, but the most important thing about this matchup, because I know essentially nothing about these teams, New Mexico State's mascot way cooler than Utah State. I'm not even sure what that is. It's just a U with the word state written across it. I'm going Aggies.
I'm going to go with New Mexico as well. It's going to be a very close game. The spread is only a field goal, so New Mexico.
Jay, I'm not quite sure if you realize this, but similar to the bowl game we just talked about, both of those teams being Wildcats, both of these teams are the Aggies.
Oh.
So, one mascot not necessarily better than the other one. So.
When's the last time we had 2 bowl games where both teams had the same mascot in the same year? Has that ever happened?
I have no idea.
You're the Bear.
You
Evan,
have
so
some
you've gotta
very
pick this up.
obscure research requests, my friend. I've
Hey,
been
man,
on that
guys,
just as
You're
serious
sitting
as I
back there.
possibly can.
You're sitting back there on the computer. I expect you to pull up all sorts of
You
things.
got a computer right in front of you, too.
And
Why don't
we
you
just
pull
have
up
both
some
games with the
stats?
Wildcats.
I see Bradley's computer has died, what everybody doesn't know. So now he's
2%.
looking at my computer for all the bowl games. Moving right along, Cotton Bowl
I'll take New
Classic.
Mexico State for what it's worth.
Cotton Bowl Classic. This is going to be a great matchup. A lot of people looking forward to it. Number 8 USC, number 5 Ohio State, out of AT&T Stadium. Pierce, what are your thoughts on this game?
Go Trojans. I do not want Ohio State to win this game. I cannot stand Ohio State.
They're heavily favored.
Heavily
Heavily
favored.
favored.
But I do think that USC has at least a little bit of a chance to win it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, they're heavily favored, but again, the spread is only by a touchdown. So I think USC gets it done.
I like Buckeyes in this matchup. I think they're going to be playing angry after getting left out of the playoff at 5. They're averaging 42 points a game, only giving up 19, so less than 20. And USC has had spurts of greatness this year where they really looked like Sam Darnold could contend for the Heisman, and they could make a national championship run. But I just haven't seen enough consistency out of USC, so I'm going Ohio State.
I'm going to go with Ohio State as well. Tempted to go with USC. It's a very, very good matchup we got here. That's not a playoff game. But simply because I think USC struggled against the run. They struggled against a banged-up Bryce Love, and he tore them apart last week. So I'm going to go with Ohio State.
I'm going to go with USC. I think USC's playing pretty well right now. I feel like Ohio State's very overrated. I feel like they're not very good at all, so I'm picking USC by a good bit.
I'm going to take the Buckeyes here. I think they've got more quality wins than USC playing in the Big Ten as opposed to the Pac-12, although they both have a pretty significant quality loss. USC losing late in the year by a lot to Notre Dame, and then we all know Ohio State, Iowa, how that turned out and how it affected the playoff race. So I'm going to take the Buckeyes, currently that touchdown favorite. I just think J.T. Barrett and J.K. Dobbins and whoever else they put in the backfield is just going to be too much for USC, and Sam Darnold just can't do it on his own, so I'll take Ohio State.
All right, getting into the New Year's Eve matchup now. We've got Louisville taking on number 23 Mississippi State in the Tax Slayer Bowl. Who do you like in this matchup, Jackson?
I'm going to go with Louisville. I think Louisville's been pretty good in the past couple weeks, and they obviously have a lot better offensive weapons. I feel like Lamar Jackson's better than Nick Fitzgerald, so I feel like they end up winning this game.
And he'll be a lot better because Nick Fitzgerald has about one leg right now. He will not be playing in this game. I'm going to go with Lamar. Definitely the battle of the quarterbacks. Mississippi State, if their backup quarterback can pull out something magical, I think they got a chance, but I think it's going to be all Cardinals.
Best non-New Year's Six bowl game this year. I think this is going to be a great matchup. I see this going into at least one overtime. I think this is going to be a great game. I do think, though, at the end of the day, Lamar and Louisville going to get it done. They've had some inconsistency this year. Obviously not the season that they wanted, but I think still with Lamar going to New York, even though he's not really going to win the Heisman, still a good way to cap off the season for them with 9 wins.
Okay. Prediction is 50-50 again, and the spread is only a 7-point spread. So I think that Lamar Jackson gets it done in a very close game.
Both of these teams making a bowl appearance for the 8th year in a row. Louisville, last time they played an SEC team in a bowl game last year, LSU absolutely embarrassed them, and Lamar Jackson had by far his worst game of the year. I don't see that happening again this year. No Nick Fitzgerald, no Dan Mullen. I just don't think Mississippi State's going to be able to hang around and stop Lamar Jackson long enough. So I'll take Louisville, but I think it'll be close.
Next matchup, we've got the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Iowa State taking on number 20 Memphis on ABC. Who do you like in this matchup, Pierce?
Well, let's just talk about Memphis's last game against UCF in that
Not a bad game whatsoever.
double overtime. They lost, but still it was very close.
Yeah.
I definitely have the Memphis Tigers in this. Their quarterback has thrown for 36 touchdowns this season.
Wow.
That is just crazy. Yes, he's thrown 9 interceptions, but I mean, when you throw the ball that much, it is bound to happen, just like Deshaun last year.
Yeah, too much offensively for Iowa State to keep up with Memphis. I mean, they're averaging Memphis is averaging 550 yards a game. They're also averaging almost 50 points a game to Iowa's 29. So I like Memphis by a good margin.
I like Matt Campbell as a coach that they've locked him up for 6 more years. I'm going to go with Iowa State here, the more battle-tested team in the Power 5.
Wow.
Memphis coming off a very emotional game against UCF. I think that's going to carry over. And Iowa State, their 3 of their last 4 losses have been very, very close. So I think they try to pull one out here.
Yeah, I'm going with Iowa State as well. I feel like you guys are forgetting that Iowa State beat Oklahoma, played Oklahoma State very close, and beat TCU. So they beat or played very close
can
to
hang with
3
anybody.
big air raid offenses. So I feel like if they could play with them, then I feel like they have better offenses than Memphis. So I feel like Iowa State ends up winning this one.
I'm going to take the Cyclones as well. As solid as Memphis has been all year, and as fun as that game was to watch in the American Conference Championship against UCF, Iowa State played spoiler a lot this year, and when they were good, they were really good. Matt Campbell, having the Cyclones playing very uncyclone-like, especially in the past couple of years. 2 top 5 wins this year against both teams that appeared in the Big 12 Championship game. I think if you give them a month to prepare and you give them this national stage, I like the Cyclones on this one.
Next matchup that we've got, let me see if I can scroll down in time. We've got Washington Penn State, 4 Eastern on ESPN out of University of Phoenix Stadium. Number 11 Washington, number 9 Penn State. Who are you picking, Jackson?
I'm going with Penn State. I feel like they are more balanced, and I feel like Washington, every time they've been kind of challenged this year, other than Washington State, I feel like they've ended up losing because you look at Stanford, you look at USC, lost both of those games. So I feel like Penn State ends up winning this one pretty easily.
My computer must be a fan of the show because it is at 0%, but still is on, so I can still look at this matchup right here. I'm going to go with Penn State. Their only 2 losses have been by a combined 4 points.
Yeah.
So a couple more points, they probably would have been in the playoff talk. I'll go with Trace McSorley. And Saquon Barkley, disappointing end of the year, but I think he gets it done.
It was disappointment end of the year for Penn State. I'm sure they would have loved to have been ranked higher than 9th, even though a 10-2 year for them is awesome. Same with Washington, though. They went 10-2, finished 11th, but obviously had bigger aspirations after making the playoff last year, right? Washington made the playoff last year. But I'm still picking Penn State in this matchup. I just think that they have too many weapons offensively. I think James Franklin, with a month to prepare, will get it done.
I'm also going to go with Penn State. I think McSorley, and Barkley are going to get it done. And yeah, I feel like it was a very disappointing season for them and I feel like that's a funny thing to say because we think that they should have been in the playoffs from the beginning of the year, and then they just fell off, and it was just very sad.
All right, I got Jack McLaughlin from Pennsylvania sitting back here. He said that if Penn State loses this game, the university's burning to the ground, courtesy of the students. So I guess I got to pick Penn State, too. I like Washington. I think they're a very solid team, especially going forward. They actually play Auburn in the season opener next year, so if they end up winning this game, that could potentially be a top 10 matchup at the beginning of next year. But Trace McSorley, Saquon Barkley, hard to stop. Ohio State found a way to do it. Ohio State's defense is good. So is Washington, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Huskies win this one, but I think the smarter, safer pick is Penn State.
Next matchup we got 6 games left. These are all going to be really good. The Capital One Orange Bowl between number 6 Wisconsin, number 10 Miami. Who you picking out of Hard Rock Stadium, Jackson?
I'm going with Miami. I feel like Wisconsin's been pretty good all year, but they've had a big problem with turnovers this year. If you look at Hornibrook, he's thrown a good number of picks this year, so I feel like Miami ends up putting on the turnover chain a good bit. The only problem, though, is if Miami can score. Past couple of games, they have not been able to score at all, so I feel like if they can't score on offense, they're probably going to score on defense.
And that's the thing. Wisconsin, great defense. Miami has really been struggling a lot. Malik Rozier barely even considered a starting quarterback at this point. It is a home game for Miami, though, so that could play a factor. I still think Jonathan Taylor is able to eat up the Miami defense. I'm going to go with Badgers.
It's a home game, and this game is being played in Miami, so it is their home stadium, which
seems a little unfair.
It seems a little unfair, yeah. But
you got to think it's a Miami home game. There's about 60 people there.
That stadium is, I think, about 45 minutes from the actual campus. I'm not exactly sure, but I still am going with the Canes in this matchup. Wisconsin, they've had their trials or tribulations all year. My biggest issue with them remains to be the quarterback play with Hornibrook. I think Miami, since it's a home game, puts on the turnover chain, and I think they win handily.
I'm going to go with Wisconsin. I was not impressed with Miami's defense against Clemson's run last week at all. And,
that's a good point.
I was not expecting that. I thought that Miami was going to at least stop us a little bit. They didn't even show me anything. So I think Wisconsin runs all over Miami.
A little bit closer location than your assumption there, Mr. Smith. 26 minutes from the U. It's a 20-mile drive straight up the coast.
Yeah, but with traffic, there's no way that's 26 minutes. That's the best you can do.
I don't drive in Miami traffic. I don't know. Anyway,
we'll text JP.
I think Miami's depleted offense with Amon Richards and Christopher Herndon, their star tight end, being out for the year. Mark Walton, they lost early in the year, and we've seen Malik Rozier just can't do it all on his own. Couldn't do it against Pitt. Definitely couldn't do it against Clemson. He ain't going to do it against that Wisconsin Badger defense either. I think Jonathan Taylor could potentially go off for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I like Scotty in this one.
Final 5 games. They are good ones. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to 2018. Starting it off, 8:45 kick, Alabama, Clemson in the All-State Sugar Bowl. Who are you picking in the semifinal, Jackson?
I'll go with Clemson, another nail-biter. I feel like Clemson's D-line's probably going to end up making the big difference in this game, and then also on special teams, I feel like Pat Godfrey doing the blocks. On the kick returns, I feel like he's going to get a lot of pancake blocks. Big difference maker.
Gonna need a lot of pancake blocks. I think Clemson's playing like the best team in the country right now, and they rightfully deserve the number 1 ranking. I don't think there's any chance Alabama wins this game. I'm calling it right now. I got the Tigers by 90.
I've already kind of voiced my opinion on this game on Tuesday's show, how I think this is going to be the last marquee matchup between these two schools for a while. I think this is the end of the trilogy, and I think Clemson's going to get it done. I think it's going to be a great matchup. I think it's going to be just as exciting as the previous two, but I think at the end of the day, with how well Clemson has played, especially down the stretch these last couple games with South Carolina and Miami, Tigers get it done.
This is going to be a very interesting game, to say the least.
Oh, really?
I think that it's going to be. I think it's just going to be a very close scoring game, and also we got to think about the fact that they've got over a month to get healthy. Alabama has not been healthy for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I really think that Clemson is going to win, but it will probably be by a field goal, and that'll be it.
I'm going to take Clemson as well on this one, no surprise. I don't think it's going to be that close, though. I think Clemson is the more well-rounded team on both sides of the ball, and a couple key differences here. Alabama will have a chance to get healthy, so will Clemson. And I think a big difference here, at least for Clemson defensively, is that O.J. Howard is not in a Crimson Tide uniform anymore. In the previous 2 matchups, both of those being national championships, of course, O.J. accounted for 314 out of the Tide's 490 receiving yards in those 2 games, which was 64%. So no tight end difference maker on the offensive side of the ball for the Crimson Tide this year. And you're not going to beat Clemson with short throws. They had a couple deep opportunities against Auburn that they just couldn't quite connect on, except for the 1 touchdown Hurts threw it, I believe, in the second quarter. Additionally, Clemson's going to run the ball if they get into the red zone, and we've seen how tough it is to run against Alabama's defense. I like the Tigers by double digits in this one, honestly.
Next matchup, we've got Michigan, South Carolina in the Outback Bowl. South Carolina's premier bowl choice every year, it seems. You like Wolverines, you like Gamecocks?
I'm going with Wolverines in this one. I feel like the major difference is South Carolina can't really play defense at all this year. And then I think it really depends on Michigan's running attack because they're down to like their third or fourth quarterback this year, and their quarterback play is just not being good at all this year. So I feel like Michigan probably does end up winning this game because South Carolina just can't play defense. I don't feel like they'll be able to start their run.
Yep.
I think South Carolina finds a way to win this game. As much as it pains me to say it, John O'Corn is one of the worst quarterbacks I've seen across the country this year, and they're in a tough spot right now if Brandon Peters is still going to be out of their other backup. So I think Bentley finds a way to bounce back from that Clemson game after a long time off.
He's wearing those garnet socks on if you look down underneath the table. No, I think South Carolina has a great chance.
Okay.
They have a great chance to win this game. You know, honestly, I think this is going to be an ugly game.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be entertaining to watch at all. I see it being very low scoring, maybe a couple of touchdowns at the most. I think South Carolina will hang around, but I think at the end of the day, Michigan gets it done. But I don't think this is going to be a game you're going to want to tune into if you like shootouts.
Well, Bradley, you said that O'Corn was probably the worst quarterback you've seen all year. I have to say that Jake Bentley is the worst quarterback I have seen all year. 16 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, and he just got embarrassed by Clemson. And the entire nation saw it, and I have Michigan winning.
O'Corn's got 2 touchdowns and 6 picks this year, for what it's worth.
That's pretty.
For what
that's
it's
bad, but oh gosh.
Who you got, Evan?
I don't like it, but I'm going to take South Carolina. Michigan, just no quarterback play. We'll give a shout out to the Gamecocks for making it to a postseason game in Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, although they're a season too late for it to matter. South Carolina playing a lot more solid down the stretch than Michigan overall, save for that embarrassing home loss to Clemson. So as much as I don't like it, I think South Carolina's probably got the slightly better quarterback, and I think they'll get the job done. It'll be ugly and low scoring, though.
Last 3 matchups, we got number 12 UCF, number 7 Auburn in the Peach Bowl, 12:30 kickoff on ESPN. Who are you picking?
I'm going with Auburn. I feel like UCF is good. I don't feel like they're that great, though. I think Auburn really bounces back from the SEC championship game. I feel like their defense is going to come out and play probably their best game of the year.
Yeah, I think Auburn it was kind of a lackluster performance they had against Georgia, kind of a fluke game too. I think they're a lot better team than what we saw, and I don't see this Auburn team losing 4 games this year. While UCF's offense is great, I think with Scott Frost on the way out, I think Auburn finds a way to get it done.
Golden Knights, 13-0, dream season complete. I think they pull off the shocking upset against Auburn. Auburn's favored right now by, I believe, 10 in this matchup, but I think the Knights keep that momentum going, even though Scott Frost now is at Nebraska. I like UCF in this matchup.
I think Auburn is going to take this game. They're going to be healthy when they play UCF. I don't think it'll be even a game to watch, honestly.
Wow.
What do you think, Evan?
I think your festive headwear might be cutting off the circulation to your brain, picking UCF over Auburn in this one. I mean, come on.
Hey, you got to throw in an upset somewhere.
Yeah, but that's not the place to do it. Pick Michigan over South Carolina for crying out loud. I mean, yes, UCF is undefeated and has the highest scoring offense in the country, averaging just under 50 points a game. But this is Auburn we're talking about. I know they're a 3-loss team, but look at their 3 losses. They're two really good teams and one sometimes pretty
Tell me
good
all
team, except
about
on homecoming.
UCF's losses. Who has UCF lost to this
Who has
year?
UCF played that was worth losing to?
They haven't lost.
Auburn wins this
anybody.
game. Auburn wins this game by like 20. Come on.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Moving on, we got 2 games left. Citrus Bowl, Notre Dame at 14, LSU 17. Coming to you out of Orlando. Who you like?
I think this is the best non-New Year's Six Bowl. I feel like Notre Dame ends up winning this one. I feel like LSU really doesn't have that much offense, and I would not be surprised if Darius Geis ends up sitting this one out and trying to improve his draft stock.
And that's the thing, you don't really know his name that well because he hasn't really done much this year. I'm going to go with Notre Dame too. Kind of a disappointing way to end the year. I think Brandon Wimbush finds a way to come back. And we get Josh Adams. I think he performs well on a big stage, and I got Notre Dame winning this.
Yeah, Notre Dame, I don't think this game's going to be that competitive. I think LSU may hang around for a half or 2, but I think Fighting Irish get this one done pretty convincingly. They get to 10 wins. They're probably going to end up about at the top 10, so not too disappointing of a year if you're Notre Dame.
I'm going to go with LSU just because I was not on board with the Fighting Irish being in the top 4 in the midseason at all, and I just have LSU going for it.
Hasn't done much this year, Bradley. You want to call me out for not paying attention to what you say? You haven't been paying attention to Darius Geis on the field. Over 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns on 216 carries. That's 5 yards a carry. And I think there's any running back in the country would take those numbers. On the other side of the ball, Josh Adams had himself a pretty nice year as well. 191 carries, 1,300 yards, and 9 touchdowns. If both of these guys play in this game, going to be a lot of fun to watch. If not, it might not be. Neither of these teams has a great quarterback. I guess Wimbush out of Notre Dame is probably the better one. I'm going to take the Irish in this one.
I'm just saying, preseason Heisman favorite, you can't only have 11 touchdowns.
Baker Mayfield was the preseason Heisman favorite.
Guys
And
was up
he's
there.
going
Guys
to
was up
win
there.
the Heisman.
Come
Because
on, Bradley.
Last bowl game matchup we've got Rose Bowl out of California, Georgia at 3, Oklahoma at 2. Who are you picking in this other semifinal?
Okay, so we have the Georgia Bulldogs that are just a run attack team, and then we have Oklahoma that is just Baker Mayfield just passes the ball like crazy. Do not think he should win the Heisman, but that is a whole nother topic. I think that Georgia pulls this out. I think their defense stops Baker Mayfield.
Wow.
This is the first defense that he will play that has been solid, besides possibly TCU, but TCU just fell apart when they played Oklahoma. So we'll see what Georgia does to get this.
I'll say this, regardless of who Oklahoma, if they win this game, who they play in the national championship, they'll have to go up against 2 great defenses consecutively with Georgia and or Clemson or Alabama. So they're going to face some great defense in this semifinal and then in the championship game. But I think Oklahoma's just going to be too much for the Bulldogs. I think it's going to be a great game, competitive game. I think Baker Mayfield, though, just slings around the ball too well. 41 touchdowns this year, just mind-blowing numbers. I like the Sooners.
It's first to 30 wins. I'm gonna agree with you, Alex. I think Georgia finds a way to pull this out.
Wow.
Jake Fromm's really matured over the last few weeks. I think the defense, the game plan for Kirby Smart is going to be to play a lot of defense and rush. With Raekwon Smith, he was one of the most dynamic performers in the last game they had against Auburn. I think Georgia finds a way to shut down Baker Mayfield like Iowa State did earlier this year, and they get it done and move on to the championship.
I think Oklahoma ends up winning this one. I feel like the Georgia defense will not be able to contain Baker Mayfield as much as they kind of hope to be able to do. I feel like Oklahoma's experience will overcome Georgia's superior talent. I feel like Georgia's probably the far more talented team, but Oklahoma has a lot more experience, playing in these big games and everything. So I feel like Oklahoma ends up winning this.
I'm not even going to pretend like I think this game is going to be close. I think you're going to see Oklahoma run away with this game. I think Baker Mayfield is going to put on a show. I think Oklahoma's defense, while it is a Big 12 defense, doesn't get a whole lot of credit. They can and they will get the job done. You saw how well they played against TCU, whose offense is nothing to ignore. So I think Georgia is a good team. I think they have a bright future going forward under Kirby Smart. But I just don't think Jake Fromm is quite ready for this stage. Baker Mayfield hadn't played on it 2 years ago. Didn't quite go the way he wanted it to, but this year pretty much has, except for that one little blip on the radar to Iowa State. But other than that, Oklahoma has been the more consistent team all year, and I think they're going to easily win this game.
Our time is up. Bradley's computer has just died. We just made it through all 41 bowl games very quickly. We'll throw back to Evan. Who are you picking national champion?
I think I picked Clemson to win. I picked Oklahoma to win. Rematch 2 years ago. We saw how well that went. Clemson, more balanced, more well-rounded. I like the Tigers.
Who are you picking national champion?
The Tigers.
I'm going with Clemson, and I think they're going to play Oklahoma.
I got Clemson over Georgia.
I got Clemson over Oklahoma. I think Baker Mayfield cries again.
Well, I think regardless, when you look at these 4 teams, I think they are consensus best 4 teams in the country. We're about to see 2 great semifinal games. Should see an amazing national championship regardless of the outcomes. But it's been a lot of fun bringing you this special edition Bowl Mania show. Really appreciate Alex and Jackson for coming on and doing it with us. We had a lot of fun bringing it to you. Thanks so much to everyone behind the scenes all semester for bringing After Further Review to y'all. We got Scout running Switcher tonight. Taylor was on audio. Want to say Wyatt's back there, Jack's back there, maybe Ryan. We had a whole bunch of people help out with the show this semester, and we really appreciate everything they've done for us. So we're going to sign off for one more time. For Alex, Jackson, Evan, Bradley, and myself, this has been After Further Review.
Thanks for watching.